Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. We're going to have a bit of an off-the-cuff chat tonight. I've got many of you know, Stu and Glen and Greg. So I've brought them on tonight to just have a bit of a chat and go over some of the questions that I've had in email from some of the new members and some people that are wanting to join. I get lots of messages saying I'd really love to do it, but I'm not, I'm not sure how to go about it. Where do I start? What if I get it wrong? And obviously, as they go through the months and they don't instantly get a video or instantly get the footprint, they ask me if they're wasting the time and they should carry on. So Stu, you've been at this in a number of years now, and it will have had all of those questions yourself, as will have Glen. What advice would you give?
Don't give up. We all get periods of self-doubt, sometimes your area goes really quiet, or you'll research an area where there doesn't seem to be any sign or any activity, but don't give up. It's just it could be just round the corner for you.
Yeah, that's the one. And these seasonal shifts. So they could be, as Glen will attest probably, sometimes there's lots of sign in an area, and then that you can go 2 weeks later and it's gone.
Yeah.
You've experienced that, haven't you, Glen?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just coming into my third year now. Spring will be 3 years since I first got out and had a look for myself, and I still have had no kind of how can I say, not physical interaction, but I've not heard anything. I've not seen anything. I've seen, as in, actual a being.
Yeah.
I've videoed orbs. I've seen footprints. I've seen as many stick structures, if people believe in stick structures being connected to forest folk, which I do.
Yeah.
As you can throw a stick at, kind of thing. I see them all the time. In various locations. I mean, I probably visited in the past 3 years, well, I don't know, probably 20, 25 different locations from like 20 miles from my back door, and seen all types of sign, but I can't actually say hand on heart that I know it's forest folk.
Yeah.
So I'm always doubting myself, but deep down, as in, is it going to happen? Am I going to meet anything here, tonight or this morning, or am I going to see anything? And you constantly doubt whether you're doing the right thing, what you should do next. But I think continual repeating of what you do is a real basis on how to set your research out, really. Keep an eye on the same location, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, because I think people think that they will go out and within a week they'll have all these finds, because that seems to happen on YouTube. Even the reputable researchers, it might take them 4 months to make that 1 8-minute video that you see.
Yeah.
So they've had to walk in, they've had to take time off work, time from the family, go in, have a look. You're hoping you're getting it on the right day, and you're hoping that you're in the right area. So it's, for all of us, it's impossible. Even I have the same doubts.
Yeah.
And
it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think it's a false. I think it's like when you watch CSI and then you think that a crime's going to be solved in 10 minutes because it is on the TV. It's almost become like that. You need to go through it. You need to. It's how you learn. I think it's how you start to spot the subtle signs that we try and explain to people. It's really hard to do it with words, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It's to me, you've got to become really, really intimate with your chosen area.
Yeah.
Over a period of time. It could be a long period of time if you can't get there every week, But over a period of time, you've got to become really, really intimate with that area, So when you go, you can spot the subtle changes, need to learn what grows where. You know, you need to know sort of like, right, this area here has got good shelter. This area here, you know, like my area, there's one area where it's just a carpet of wild. So come September and August, that's an active area. You know, because of the blueberries. You know, and it's like a jungle in there, to be honest. You know, and, you know, they're knee high, and it's just a carpet of them. You know, so I know August, September time, that's where to concentrate. You know, because that's where there's a massive food source. You know, lots of vitamins in those. You know, in those wild blueberries.
I mean, I can't agree more.
Yeah. Autumn time, I'll know, you know, like October, November, I know things will start to die off there. So I'll start look for somewhere else that's got a little bit more shelter from the, you know, the autumn winds and the autumn weather.
Yeah.
You know? And you've got to become really intimate, you know. I'm not saying you've got, like, a lot of people are afraid to stay overnight in there, and you don't have to, you know.
No, you don't.
A lot of people now, they see the YouTube videos where everybody's, you know, pitching up and they're staying all night, and you know, it's not. Nobody says you have to. If you're not comfortable with staying all night, then you don't have to, you know.
And you miss things when it's dark. You miss things. So go in the day, get your eye in, and do it in the hours that you're comfortable with. And if you feel like staying out overnight and you're uncomfortable, just work your way into it. You might not need to. There's so many sightings in the daytime.
And you know, and plus, if you're not comfortable, you know, being in the woods and the wilds, if you stay the night, you know, you're going to start getting frightened. You're going to start, and your mind will start putting tricks on you, you know, and it'll spoil it for you. So, you know, I'd say to anybody, if you're not,
you've got to read yourself into it, haven't you? Yeah, because I think there's loads of people that haven't the interest, but they might not be into wild camping, or they might not be into bushcraft or survival. So they're not just learning the subject, they're learning all of the para subjects that we're into that go around that, like your wild foods and how you stay out for 48 hours on your own with just a tarp and all of those things. I would imagine it's quite daunting to them, thinking, how am I supposed to learn all that? Well, you don't, because the majority of the witnesses are either driving the car or walking the dog.
Yeah.
So you could just go out for an hour or so and have a wander around and see if you can see anything. Because that's how you started, wasn't it, Glenn?
Yeah. I mean, you can take it from one extreme to the other. I mean, you could just pop out once a month on a Sunday afternoon in a particular wood and just go for a walk for like an hour, a couple of hours, just to get to know what the place has in the way of food, what impossible sign, and then you can go to the other extreme and camp out for a week every night in the middle of winter on your own. So it covers everything and anything, if you know what I mean. You can so. But yeah, that's my first thought was to find somewhere. Look on the map. Look where something possibly could visit. So I found the biggest wood within like 20-mile radius of me, and then I thought, well, the best thing then to do is go in the day and try and find in that wood what, like I say, is the water there? Are the food sources there? How many people are visiting there? All things that you really don't kind of immediately think of seeing a Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
How did you actually think about or get into starting, Stu? Because I know obviously settings and that.
I had an encounter back in 2015. I had a friend across from Australia, and I took our son up to me research. It wasn't a research area at the time. It was somewhere I used to just go wild camp and, you know, spend a bit of time in the woods. And we had a very unusual this little. It was a triangle in the area, and sadly now it's been felled. It's not there anymore, you know. And
Right.
it was the worst smell I've ever come across, Glenn. It was hideous. It was wet dog, body something else, and we actually thought it was either a dead rudie or a dead sheep, you know. Curiosity got the better of one. I said to my friend, right, you go 30 yards up there and I'll go in here, you know, and we'll both step in the wood, work our way through the wood and see if we can find this dead deer. He had it in his head that if it was a dead roe, you know, he might be able to get the antlers off it, you know, the little antlers off a roe. So we stepped into the wood and there was this almighty crashing, things getting, you know, branches getting snapped, pushed out the way. And then...
Sorry to interrupt you, Stu, sorry. At this point, did you have an interest or know about anything to do with it? Forest folk?
Not in the UK, no. No, not in the UK. I'd seen the programmes, you know, and Arthur C. Clarke when I was a kid and stuff like that, but absolutely no idea in this country.
Right.
So, you know, the crashing stopped and the smell went. So we stepped back out the wood a little bit puzzled, you know. Went away, had our day camp, found there's actually in the research area there used to be a homeless guy living up there, and he'd made himself a fucking little shelter with a little wood burner, you know. So we went up there, spent a bit of time in the shelter, and came back, and nothing, no smell or anything, but there wasn't any breeze, you know. I thought maybe the smell's getting carried on the breeze, you know, and no, it was perfectly still, red hot day, and that was that, you know. And I eventually found Deb, and you know, I got into it there, you know, and it's just gone from, you know, it's just sort of, I wouldn't say it's taken over my life in a bad way, but it's made things interesting, you know.
Yeah, it's not your normal pastime, is it?
No.
No, it's fun.
Oh,
I mean, there are people that join not just for the outdoor stuff, because there's lots of people who join just because they like the programs and they like the podcast and they just like learning. Greg, you're one of them. You just soak up information, don't you? You like interesting subjects. I mean, you've the amount of things me and you have spoken about. Yeah, I'm hoping he's there in his cab.
Yeah, the world and the universe itself is an extraordinarily fascinating place, and it's far more intricate and far more fascinating than we're being told. Everybody needs to understand that there is, sadly, those amongst us who mean to do us harm, and basically treat us mushrooms, keep us in the dark, and feed us shit. And the knowledge is really the most valuable commodity on the face of this earth. It's never been gold, silver, or platinum. It's always been knowledge, and it has been the arsehole pedophile elites have gone out of their way to keep this knowledge from the rest of mankind, because they realize that by doing so, they keep the rest of us down. If you don't know where you've come from, where you are, and where you're going, you're in a world of hurt, and people just don't realize it. The whole of the society has been socially engineered to keep mankind dumbed down and be in subservience to these arseholes.
Really, aren't we?
Say again, buddy?
Well, it's all about control. It's all about controlling people.
Yeah, we've got about 13 families, major, super rich, whose bloodlines go back thousands of years, who are basically a bunch of psychopaths. Let's call it for what it really is. These people are doing more harm to the rest of humanity without the majority of humanity knowing. That we need to remove. I'm not a violent person, but we need to remove these people in a peaceful manner. We need to find a solution before humanity can start moving forward. And the Bigfoot phenomena, along with many other facets, is all tied into this. There are so many threads to this spider's web that people need to investigate, and that's what I've spent doing for the last 11 years. There's stuff I could tell people that would probably make their hair stand on end, and they would absolutely not believe a word I've said. But I always say to people, and just to finish off and hand over back to you, that don't believe a word I say. If you feel inclined, then go and do your own research, go and do your own digging. You may be shocked at what you find out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Bigfoot research, cryptid research, dogman research, all of that, people open their eyes when they start to investigate a subject that they're not used to or it's new to them and they find it interesting. They start to question other things. And it's a good way, I think, of getting people, especially now we have the members group and get everybody talking and intermingling. I've learned so much from the other members just in the last 6 months alone, subjects that I've never even dipped my toe into, that I'm now really enjoying, you know. So I think, we know that the UK government knows that there's something going on, or we wouldn't be getting reports from army personnel because they're reporting them to the superior officers, police officers who are making reports. So we know the official reports are out there, but they're never going to admit it.
No, they won't. No.
It wouldn't happen because then people we have an answer to Big Pharma. The medicines and that are out there. The forest folk know them, you know. I think it gets you thinking outside the box. It has done with me. It's opened my mind a lot and made me start thinking about other things. And it
you do just naturally question stuff, then, don't you?
About it's like the energy thing. That is it the area itself that puts out the energy, like a battery, and that creates the phenomena, or is it attracting the creatures in some kind of way? And this energy definitely seems to form a part of it. Geo
Nikola, if I may interject here, Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest minds of our time, who meant to believe was given this advanced information by channeling with entities, spirits, whatever you want to call them, said that if you want to know the secrets of the universe, you must first start to think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. All matter vibrates at a certain frequency, and light is that has its own frequency. The visible spectrum that we can see, very narrow. There is much that exists out of that narrow visible spectrum, like infrared, ultraviolet. We can't see, but we know it exists. Microwaves, etc. And this is where some of these beings do actually exist. They are slightly just out of our visible spectrum where we can't see them, but from time to time they slow their vibration down where we can see them and we can interact with them. That's key, really, to understanding a lot of what's going on in the universe. You know, energy, vibration, and frequency.
I think they just understand that a million times more than we do.
Yeah.
Even human beings are attuned to the energy if they allow it. That's why we found ourselves, you know. So I have no problem with that. And when people say, "Oh, that's the woo," I think that's not the woo, because that's nature, and every single animal, every single bird, every plant, everything, even a raindrop, is attuned to the energy of this world, because we are all just energy at source, regardless of what we are. So I am in agreement with Greg. I think that some people are either already on that vibrational level when they're in an area, and that's why they're having the encounter, or that your vibration changes without you realizing, because you're doing something that you're really comfortable with. So you're almost in a hypnotic state without you realizing it. Even if you're riding your bike and you just absolutely love riding your bike, you're in that moment when you're at your most content. And I think then you open up a little bit more.
That's a brilliant way of putting it, Deb. That is. We're so disconnected, aren't we? From you know, from energy, from nature, from the world where we're actually part of. Each year, the human race just becomes less and less connected, and that's why most people, firstly, don't believe this kind of thing, because they're off like watching the latest whatever, you know, Kardashians or whatever, and not to watch a rabbit, or you know what I mean? It's like,
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I mean, we have to look at the other side of things as well, because we're talking about energy, and energy can be positive and both negative. And we have to be honest, but there are these strange missing people, vanishing people. Yeah. There's attacks worldwide. There's a lot going on in the negative side of things as well. And people are saying, giving a different aspect to it in its system. It's that all energy, as I say, is negative and positive. And we're always going to have both ends of those spectrums.
Well, there has to be, doesn't it? There has to be.
Can't live without, can it? Yeah. I have to say I was wrong, because I preached for years that they were completely negative. Then I preached for years that they were completely positive. And now I'm preaching that they're either or. And that's just the way it's led me. So that's the only truth I have is the way it's led me here, if you get what I mean. So some of them are complete arseholes, and some of them are lovely. And it just depends on the ones that you come across.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't stick anything, a whole collection of like beings, whatever it may be, into one bracket, can you?
No, you can't.
You've got Mother Teresa and you've got Pol Pot. You know,
exactly,
we're all human.
That, Glenn. Exactly that.
So, you know, that's what GPE. Although it's my initials, it's gaining personal experience, and that's all you can go by.
It would be interesting.
Someone tells you something. Sorry, go on, mate.
It would be interesting to find, you know, like most of the sightings, I would say 90% of the sightings, people are out walking their dogs or are driving, they're in a relaxed state of mind.
Yeah.
Now,
that's right.
About how many sightings occur when people aren't in a relaxed state of mind, you know, whether they're in a bad mood or they're stressed, and it's not many.
Right, you know? Yeah.
Or when they act like prey, and people are going to, I'm going to get so messages about this. If you're in an area and you're acting really scared and you're giving off that vibe of you are prey, any animal in the world will react to that. And I'm not saying they're animals, I'm just saying it's a natural reaction. So, and we also we accidentally stumble into places. I've done it myself, where you've ignored the signs and you've stumbled in regardless.
Yeah, we've all done it.
Yeah. And I mean, I never felt infrasound, really, ever. And I wouldn't even know how to describe it. Other than that thing that happened at Halloween, my legs went from beneath me. I felt sick. I couldn't look out the front of the car. I was shaking. And it took everything I had to I just kept saying, just get us home. Will you just drive and get us home? I couldn't get away from it. I couldn't shake it. And it was awful. And it's the only time, really, that's ever happened to me. But I had that feeling when he said where we were going. I went, and I just ignored it. And
So, you knew after that, you know, you should just go with what your instinct, you know, you things that you can't put your finger on, but you know there's something wrong, or the other extreme, you know, something feels good. You really need to. We're so disconnected that we don't go by feelings, we go by thought, don't we?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
we do.
And you really need to be tapping into how you feel in situations, and like you said about riding your bike, when you're not thinking about things, you just, you know, in that moment, that is, that's when you're most in tune. You're right. That's when right.
It's like you're saying, like, how we're disconnected, Greg. You know, Glenn. How disconnected have we become in the past 100 years?
Yeah.
You know, we're nowhere near as connected, Mother Nature, the Earth, as we used to be.
No.
You know, everything now is easy come, easy go. You know, you want something, easy, go to the supermarket 24 hours a day. You know, TV on 24 hours a day, the internet, the radio, everything. You know, we've become so disconnected that, you know, and I think that's how a lot of people struggle now, because it's getting that connection again.
Yeah.
You know?
If I can just jump in here, guys, the arsehole pedophile elites are slapping the thighs, because we are disconnection that we all are experiencing hasn't happened by accident. It has been socially engineered to be that way. 100 years ago, families used to sit around the kitchen table or the fire, you know, and the father would read, and reading was a big thing. But today we have got so much that's been placed deliberately in front of us, TV, etc., social media, to keep us continually distracted. The mere fact that we have got so much interference in the terms of radio waves, again, we're talking about frequency here, that our natural senses, our sixth sense, that a lot of people are beginning to realize that we do have. You know, when somebody's looking at you, driving down the street, and you happen to turn to your left and you can see somebody looking at you as they're walking up the street. We have been disconnected from that. There is a video on YouTube, the last surviving druid. I have posted it in the members chat. He was saying that, you know, the humans race has always had the ability of telepathic communication. And a lot of the experiences that people have with Bigfoot is that they talk about mind speak, how the being is actually speaking to them in their mind. And, you know, this is all about knowledge. It's all about what the elites are desperate to keep from us is keep the knowledge hidden. Now, again, we've been led into a cul-de-sac here because the elites want everyone to think that the word occult means to do with witchcraft and all that nonsense. That is the kindergarten stuff that they're quite happy for us to continue to believe in. But in reality, what it is that keeping from us, as I said earlier, you're keeping knowledge of how the universe really works, where we've come from, where we are, and where we're going. They're actually stealing our potential, because they want to keep us in total subservience to them. That's the bottom, ladies and gentlemen. That is it in a nutshell. We have to remove these people and get humanity back on track again.
Yeah, we need a sense of self. We used to have a sense of self. I say this quite often to people, and they're probably sick of hearing me saying it. But back in the day when we were in a clan, your sex didn't matter. What you were good at was what you did.
Absolutely,
so at the end of the day, when you went to sleep, if you had a full belly and the fire was on and the rain wasn't hitting you, you were completely content. And you were proud of yourself for what you'd achieved that day. And we've taken that from everybody, and we've said, well, we don't want you to go out and hunt anymore, and we don't want you can't be the man of the house anymore. That's not allowed. You can't be the figurehead if you're a female. That's not allowed. We've taken people's tools from them. Probably why fishing is one of the biggest pastimes in the UK is because you're fulfilling that hunting instinct and you get that sense of fulfillment at the end. And a lot of Bigfoot researchers get the same feeling because you're reconnecting back to, we have in your blood is the soil below your feet, the water that you drink. It was your grandfathers and your great-grandfathers and the thousands of Glen, Stewarts and Gregs behind us. We have that running in our veins. So when we connect, everything seems to become, all those things that used to be a big drama, and I can only speak for myself, now become insignificant. And I start to worry about other things, not worry, but care about other things. So I'm much more interested now in the birds and the bees and the fish and the seas than I am in the person I was 15 years ago when I just spent it on shoes and watched next something. Do you get what I mean? For me, it's been life-changing in every way, shape and form.
I couldn't agree more, I think society's weird, and it's taken away people's sense of contentment. So whatever they've got, it's not enough.
Exactly.
You know, if they've got a 3-bedroom house, you know, and they watch the TV, and so and so's got a 5-bedroom house. I want one of those. I want a big car, and it's all, nobody's content anymore with what they've got.
No, that's not happening. But if I may quickly interject, that's not happening by accident. Prior to the Second World War, the TV was invented by the Germans, and that's how they brainwashed their population into becoming a warlike people. I mean, the term land actually means people. The people and the land are one, and we have to get back to that. But
Yeah, we do.
this is what these arsehole pedophile elites are keeping from everybody. They're keeping this knowledge, and social engineering is massive. That's how they're keeping everybody dumbed down. You know, they want people to believe in, like you were saying earlier, Debbie. What do you really need? What does a person really need? You need a roof over your head, food in your belly, warm and dry. Most people are happy with that, but they want you to serve them by convincing you that you've got to buy material things that you're not very good if you don't have a 4-bedroom detached house, a car, and a blonde on your arm. You're not successful. But I truly now understand, living a simple life that I do, that I'm more happier now the less I have than I've ever been. People, you know, if you want to be happy, then get rid of a lot of the stuff that you've got, because the less you have, the happier you are.
Absolutely. I'm far happier now living a simpler life than I used to. Far happier.
Yeah, I am.
And you know, when you give up the want for all these material things, you start to notice the things that you've forgotten about. You know, like the pleasure of sitting in a garden.
Yeah.
You know, a read a book or a walk in the woods, a walk along the beach. You know?
Smell of garlic in spring. When you walk through the woods in spring and you smell those ransoms, it takes you right back. It's like, oh, it's the best medicine in the world. And people probably think we're preaching if they say, oh, I'm in a town and I can't get out. Even if you can only get out for an hour, if you have to get the bus out or the train out, and you just go and have a walk for an hour. You'd be only sat in the house for an hour anyway, and you might find that, you know, you really enjoy it. And I can't tell you how many friends I've made from.
I found, if I can interject, I found that listening to birdsong now in my later years in life is such a phenomenal medicine. When I hear a robin burst into song that's in the trees right next to me, or a blackbird, you know, and you listen to the birdsong, again, they're singing in frequencies, and those frequencies are tuned to soothe your soul. Yeah, and they do soothe your soul, and bring you back in harmony.
Humans are very simple at base, and you're made to feel ashamed now, as you said, if you haven't got, and you've not got this, and you've not got that, and you've not got the other. You used to be, you feel ashamed about it, but in the olden days, being able to survive with nothing was seen as something to be proud of, to fix and mend. Look how carefully I remended this. So we can now get another 7 years out of it. There was pride in that. And now it's, buy one, don't you tight ass. Get one back. They're only 70 quid in B&Q. That's all you ever hear these days. And you think it would give people jobs. We used to have a knife sharpener. When I were a kid, a bloke that used to come and he'd sharpen all your knives and your axes and everything, and he'd come round once a month, and you had him forever. You had a good knife and you had it forever. And I'm just old fashioned, I think, in the way I think.
Do you think though that there are a lot more people now looking back and starting to get back to basics?
I think
like that to me. It does seem that there are more and more people. I mean, obviously, there's more people getting into Bigfoot. That's. I mean, do you think that's, you know, in general? Do you think that people are starting to shun technology and modern living?
I do. I mean, I think some people have words for them, like hipsters or this or that or whatever it is they want to call them. But there are a lot of people who want to rewild. They want smaller homes because they don't want to be a slave to the bank paying the mortgage. They want to be as self-sustained as they can. They don't want to pay to an electric company or a gas company when they can tap into the stream on the land, or they can put up a wind turbine or solar. And you step one further step away from the government again then by becoming self-sufficient. They haven't got that hold over you anymore. And that's very freeing for people. And then they start to explore, don't they, Greg? Once you remove yourself one step from the government, it becomes really easy to move yourself another step away again. Until your eyes are opened for you. Because that's what it's been like for me.
I definitely think a lot of people are starting to wake up to the fact that the way society is now, there's something wrong with it. And starting to take pleasure in simpler things.
Yeah. It does seem that
well,
way,
it goes back to the principle of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I mean, people out there in YouTube land, wherever anyone's listening to this, people have got to start realizing that everybody, for decades now, for hundreds of years, has been socially engineered for society to be dependent on the few. And it's those few who are now the super rich within our society, who have a totally different agenda from your common man and woman who live on this planet. And if people start looking at the different things that's going on in the world, don't believe everything that you see on the news. I mean, the BBC stands for the British Bullshit Corporation. It's just the propaganda mouthpiece of the elites. There are so many false flags events that are taking place in the world, 9/11, 7/7 bombings, etc., Westminster. These are all designed to use the oldest tool of power. And the oldest tool of power has always been fear. Well, if you distract you by fear of those around you, you're not looking up above and seeing who the real criminals are. And this is what they're desperate to keep you distracted from. So, going back to a simple life, they don't want you doing that because you're not buying that fridge freezer. You're not buying that new toaster, that new car, which is putting money in their pockets.
Exactly. It's the easiest fight in the world to win. You win by simply not buying.
Yeah.
You can have as many conferences across the world about it as you want. If you stop buying, it hits them in the pocket and they become less powerful. And you start to enjoy for me, it's a sense of achievement. I think, well, I didn't need that. I managed to fix that, and that's absolutely perfect, and that'll last me forever again. And you're not putting it into landfill, and you're not putting it in their pocket. So
absolutely, yeah.
And if you can Bigfoot along with it, and do your research and all of that, you don't need all this big tech that people tell you that you need.
I think that puts a lot of people off starting to research as well. They think they need a lot of tech. They think, thermal or IR cameras, IR binoculars, whatever, and they need trail cams and they need this and that and the other and all the best. And you don't. Just go into an area that you've chosen, look for, like Glenn said, if it's got food, it's got water, and it's got shelter, go and just sit, just find yourself a nice tree that you like the look of and sit and, close your eyes and just listen. You don't need, £1,000 worth of, thermal scope, or, all your IR kit. I never ever take my IR binoculars. They sit in the drawer in the house. Never take them. You don't just put your rucksack on and get yourself away and sit down, and that's all you need to do.
And here's another idea as well. Switch the iPhone off and leave it in the vehicle and just go and enjoy nature for what it is. Don't be a slave to your phone. The amount of people you see walking down the street with their head buried in the street, not looking where they're going, and you nearly get knocked over, and you look at them and you think, really? Are you in that much of a hurry to die?
Yeah, spot on. Absolutely spot on.
You do hear people saying, though, don't you, that they have more interact with forest folk when they've got no tech with them, when they haven't got a phone or they've got, a recorder. They're just walking in the woods.
I don't take anything out with me. That's why I've stopped making the videos when I'm in the woods, because I don't take anything with me anymore.
Yeah.
I get better interaction when I just go as me and I've got the dog and I'm just really chilled and at me, you know what I mean? When I'm really happy, I get more interaction that way. So I just stopped. I found that sometimes the camera wouldn't work when I were out. Or I'd get video, and when I got home, it'd not be on the camera, but all the other ones either side of it would be. So I had so many puzzling moments like that I just stopped taking it.
Yeah.
Which brings us to, can they interfere with that technology?
I think so, yeah. Absolutely. I'm positive they can either, or I'm positive they can pick up on the on the EMF signals.
Yeah.
Or the EMF interference off phones and cameras. I'm absolutely positive of it.
Mm.
You know, absolutely. I mean, I was up in the area last year, you know, and I came across, there was like a little clearing just off one of the tracks. And there's a family of two adults and a teenage girl sitting having a picnic.
Mm.
And all looking at their phones. I walked past them about 20 yards. I mean, they didn't even look up. And I thought, well, you're there. You know, I thought myself, you're out on the picnic, just put the phone away. You know? Yeah. And then I thought, I could have been one of the forest folk and they wouldn't even looked up.
Yeah. You could have been doing Jack Link's commercial at the back of him and they wouldn't have even noticed.
They were absolutely engrossed in their phones, and I'm thinking, why would you come up? You know, take the time to come up to an area, you know, for a picnic and then sit on your phone. You know, you're surrounded by trees and nature. You know, put your phones away and have a. You know,
on the meat. When we're
that just proves the point. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Just said that proves the point of just how deeply ingrained this social is taking place. Where people panic, they go somewhere like for a walk. They're walking away from the car and they realise that they haven't got the phone with them. I've seen so many people running back to the car. Oh, I forgot my phone. And I'm thinking, really? You know, it's laughable sometimes, but it's also very, very sad.
It is sad. When we have the meets, nobody gets the phone out because we're all chatting and talking about like either shared experiences or impossible situations that somebody's been in, and we're all talking. Nobody really gets the phone out until the end when they're going, and then they'll probably take some photos or something. But I notice that when we do the meets, you're engrossed in your sharing stories. You don't really have a need for your phone, do you? It's just
well, you don't know.
No, I can't wait for Bollum. I've got to be honest. I cannot wait for Bollum.
It's a grand spot, Deb. It's a grand spot.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, I found it's really easy access from the car park to the area, the picnic area. Really easy access. It's nice and flat, you know, and it's a nice little walk round. It's not too taxing to walk around. You can get to the sighting spots really easy. If anybody wants to go a little bit more off track, they can do that, you know.
Yeah.
Or is that from where you live then, Stu?
Yeah, it's about 15 miles from me, yeah. And it's how many sightings is there from Bowling now, Deb?
Oh Lord.
3, 4 at least that I know of.
Right. When it comes to Bollum, I'm going to be honest, I don't just think it's Bollum. I think it's that entire corridor. And I was looking at it the other day actually, and it starts way down below Beamish, Concert, that kind of area, right down there, and it just goes all the way up to the Northumberland border.
Yeah.
You've got a freaking Weardale and Kildare, and it's right up to that edge where it edges with Yorkshire. That is a mass of sighting accounts. They go back historically, and also some of the recent ones that we have.
Debs, this corridor that you're talking about, does it follow any ley lines that we know of?
I will do an overlay and have a look, because I can do that. There's an option where I can do that. I'll have a look, Craig, later on. There is a cluster in the area of Beamish and Concert where the ley lines come together, because I've been working on that case recently.
Yeah.
And you've got 5 or 6 people in that little village that are interested in the same subject and don't know anything about each other. And I find that really strange. And many of them have experiences.
Again, it comes back to that fear of ridicule. You know, today now people seem to be losing that fear of being ridiculed.
Yeah, it's going.
Telling people what they've experienced, and that's good for us as the common people living on this earth. And you know, if we can lose that fear of ridicule and tell people what it is that you've seen, whether they believe them or not, you know, it's get it off your chest. A lot of people are coming across to the channel of howtohunt.com on YouTube and speaking with Steve. And they're actually saying to him, listen, use my name, tell people who I am. I'm really not bothered, but people need to know what is going on. And that's how we've got to approach it.
Yeah, that's happening to me more and more, where people are saying, oh, I don't mind, just use my name. I'm not. I've seen a massive change in it in the last 2 or 3 years. And the last 12 months has been unbelievable. The amount of people that have come forward because they're either rethinking an event that happened, now they've got more knowledge, or they just didn't know where to go and tell anyone, and now suddenly there's a place that you can report to. And for that reason we've just been talking about, because other people have come forward, they think, right, I can do it. I can do it now. I can share it.
Yeah, it just snowballs, doesn't it?
It does.
Just opens the gates for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to count the sightings in the northeast, and there's too many of them to count for me. They're definitely following the rivers, and they seem to be going from inland to the coast and back again. That coast to coast bike route is definitely playing a part in it.
That's Debbie, may interrupt. That's a common phenomenon. They detect all the waterways. You'll get many researchers across the world all reporting the same thing, that they're often seen near waterways as a means of getting to and from.
Yeah.
You can see it in the northeast. You can see it across the country, don't get me wrong, because there's clusters at the estuaries, and then you see them fan out across the waterways. So I've always kind of known that rivers were important, and I didn't know whether it was ease of walking or food sources, or the fact that they use the energy of the water because it's a great carrier for energy. But if you're in the northeast and you're interested in doing this, you're in ideal ground, because you can go across to Scotland, or you can go west, go over the Pennines and go anywhere you went on my side of the Pennines, or you can go south and just go down and follow the food. Yeah.
I mean, up here, Deb, we've got Morpeth is just north of me. It's about 10 miles north of me. And after that's the last town, really, before you get over the Scottish border and into Jedburgh. There's no other towns. There's little villages, but there's nothing but moorland and forest, and that's it, with a few major roads like the A1 and stuff like that. But that's just nothing, literally. I can go up to my research area and stand up on the crag, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing but moors and the occasional forest. For as far as you can see, over the Cheviots, there's no town, like little towns, little villages, but there's no cities until you hit Edinburgh.
But exactly that. So that you've got all those resources. There's a multitude of ancient sites up there.
Yeah.
So if they're coming into play, then you can stick a pin in the map and find one. There's hundreds and hundreds of them. Where Glen's situated in Staffordshire, that's a similar kind of layout. And it's lots of farms, lots of woods, loads. You've got like the Trent, all of it, all the rivers that are meeting up together in that area. And I think that's probably why there are so many reports. And when you said, there's one road, I don't have a problem with roads now, because a lot of the reports are road crossing creatures.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem for them to cross the road, because people wouldn't be reporting them doing it otherwise. And chasing the car, strangely. Quite a few reports where they actually chase the car. I don't know what I do in that situation. I don't think I'd be very happy if that happened to me. But yeah, just anywhere really in the UK that has a river that connects to an estuary, and that typically means anywhere there is a sighting report. And that's changed so much from when I first started out, obviously, because I only had a couple. But I wanted to touch on something. When you had your first encounter, Stu, and you said, you remember the bush was crashing and moving. That's happened to Glen as well, hasn't it? In your research area, you've had the bush.
Yeah, that's the only time. Well, firstly, where I've actually been scared because it was unknown, and secondly that I thought, well, I don't know what could be making this noise, and it's basically it was just a massive kind of hawthorn bush that's probably, or bush is, that's I don't know, probably about 15, 20 meters long, about 5 meters wide, and a couple of meters high. But through the middle of it is like a ditch that comes, that it's not quite a stream, but it's a ditch where all the fields kind of run off into.
Oh, like a drainage ditch type of thing.
Yeah. And I was walking towards it. I can't remember if it was spring or it was just coming into spring, and I heard, and this is kind of part of a wood where I know that this is where I gift, because I know they're in and out of there, but I don't think they're there at any kind of time. I just think they pass through. So I was like just searching it, and it's a place where nobody goes because there's no footpaths to it. It's right in the middle of kind of like a boggy area, because it all, as I say, all the water runs into this little ditch. And I heard like I heard, but felt more, a foot stomp.
Yeah.
And that's too big. You know how a rabbit will stomp its feet? I was thinking that it can't be. It's just, I felt it through my feet, and I was probably about, I don't know, 15, 20 meters away, a few yards away. And I felt it, and then immediately, as I thought, that can't be a rabbit, the whole bush shook. It was... It would have taken like half a dozen of us to be in the middle of it, all kind of shaking it to have that effect. And it really got me going, because I was on my own, and it was just out of the blue on a Sunday afternoon. And that's the only time I've had something that's really kind of, one, scared me, but puzzled me. Kind of, I just could not think what could have made that. That happened.
Yeah.
So it sounds a bit like what you were saying.
Yeah. I mean, it was. You could just hear it crashing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was quite quick. It was over within 2 or 3 seconds. But all of this, like I say, big, long, deep, high bush, just all shook.
Yeah.
Ever so strange.
Do you think it was distraction?
Say again, Deb.
Do you think it was to move you on, to scare you?
I just think it was,
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's been, either like a distraction or something to unnerve you to get you.
Yeah. It was the perfect place to be in the day for them, in that no one's going to be in that kind of area apart from a dizzy person like myself. There's no dog walkers or anything like that, so it's the perfect place just to hang out in the day when you're kind of trapped, if you wasn't kind of in a big forested area. So it's an ideal place. And I think, looking back on it now, I just think I got too close. And it was like, you're not coming any closer. And I didn't.
It sounds like you're good lie at point.
Say again, mate.
It sounds like a really good lie at point. I mean, nobody's going to go nebbing into like a hawthorn bush, are they?
No. I think I recognise the thump because I felt it myself. It sounds like somebody stuck in a skip on the floor, thump, like that, and you actually feel it at the same time as you. I think that was your first warning. I think that was the first warning, the thud. I think that was supposed to move you off, but you're not to know. And I'm only surmising. I'm only guessing. And then you've got a little bit closer. If we are saying that they live in family groups, there must sometimes be females and small ones around. So maybe just for that time of the year, it was ideal for them to be there. And then you've just come wandering in and you've not realised what the thud's been and you've got a little bit too close.
Yeah.
So it's in the bluff thing.
Stu and Deb, over the years that you've been looking into this, have you got a thought or a theory on whether they would have young at a specific time of year, or throughout the year, or have you got any idea or any thoughts on it? I'm just wondering whether they they meet up at a certain time of year, and then their offspring is all kind of at springtime, kind of now or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering whether you've got any thoughts on it. Do you think
To
it's all
me,
the year that they'll give birth, or?
I'm not sure, Glenn. I've given this a lot of thought, and to me, having if they had a child at the start of winter, that's not giving the child the greatest chance of survival, is it?
No.
I agree.
The lean times, the hard times, the weather, the temperature. It's not giving that child. So maybe it's just a theory. Maybe they're like humans and they can give birth any time of year, but they choose not to.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that one. I would imagine, just as a woman alone living outside in the wilds, probably the best time for you to get pregnant would be like November-ish, and then you have your 9 months, and they're around at the time when there's a big harvest, or you time your pregnancy to end at spring, so then they've got good weather for give it 6-7 months till you've weaned it and it's on its own food, and then the winter and you can suck up for the winter. That's just a personal opinion with being a female. I do think that they would have to, in necessity, if they are only flesh and blood, they would have to meet at certain times of the year, or the DNA would, over 2 or 3 generations, would become bad. You've got to bring new DNA into your clan, you know? So if they do it like maybe we did it, I am under the impression, from what I know, that a sexually mature male will either decide he wants the clan that's already there for himself, and him and the alpha will go at it, or he'll go off and find a female, because the females tend to stay with the clan. They bring in the new blood.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I do believe that at certain times of the year, we could even call it religiously for them. I don't mean anything to do with God. I mean, I think there are times when they do meet at certain times and they intermingle. And where do they go between November and early spring? There's this big gap.
Yeah.
But this year is different, because this year we've had the first week. I did have a look, and there were a couple of Christmas, around Christmas time, new moon January time, but they're very far and few between. So there was a recent one in December, which was in Derbyshire. So I don't know if it's different to what I know, because there's more people out looking now, and it was a researcher that was out looking.
Yeah.
It could just be that, and I've not been getting the reports. But to try and stop waffling, I do believe that they meet. And what we see is the males 99.9% of the time.
Maybe they get sort of a hormonal pull at a certain time of year, you know.
Well, we do. When spring is arisen, we do, don't we? We get all that, you know.
Yeah, I was thinking that perhaps the females kind of would give birth kind of early spring.
Yeah.
And which it seems like they live in clans, so you've obviously got a dominant male, and a mother. But then when the males become old enough, a lone male then's probably maybe kicked out, and he goes looking for mates kind of early summer. So that if they're mating in summer, then give it 9 months, then they've got kids coming in early spring.
I agree. I would agree. I think that's how
that would make more sense than anything else, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And I ask myself, where do they give birth? Because if they're females, where do they take the cells to give birth? I always kind of come back to the cave systems and things like that. I think that's naturally where I'd go. I'd want to get in out of the wet and be dry and maybe stockpile a bit of food because I know I can't get out and see. But when even women today, when I had my second daughter, I was out and about the next day. So you could, if you needed to, you could pick up and move if you wanted to. But I just think comfort-wise, you would have a little hold-up area where you think, right, well, I'm fine. You know, I feel like I'm not that far away from starting. I'm probably going to take myself off there. But we won't know, will we, until we sit down and speak to them. But that makes sense to me because where do they must get old. You know? They must get frail and they must get ill at times because people make reports that they're ill. Or they make reports that they're sickly looking or they're very grey and old. So when people always say to me, well, where are the bodies? I mean, my normal sharp answer is, how the bloody hell would I know? I've never been to a Sasquatch funeral, so I couldn't tell you. But if I had to guess what they were doing, I'd say they were either doing the sky burial thing where they leave them out and the animals eat the flesh, and then you take the bones and you worship the bones like we did, or they take them down subterraneously. Those cave systems have not all been looked at, have there? There's a mystery down there. Yeah, there is,
And, like you say, we don't know, They could take them in the caves, they could do the sky burial, they could bury them, and of course there's a camouflage anyway. You could be standing on top of one of their bodies and it's that well hidden, you don't know. I remember in Autumn Williams' book, Enoch, he witnessed a Sasquatch burial of a child, wasn't it? And they put a tree, if I remember correctly, they pulled a tree up, put the and then put the tree back. So could that be why we're not finding bodies?
It's an ideal way, isn't it? I think because we're interested in the subject, we're supposed to know all of the answers, and that is impossible. It's absolutely impossible, isn't it? You can't know them. All you're ever going to have is theory until hopefully one day you can prove that theory. And we have this kind of set up now where it's wrong to say, I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? You've rather got to come down this. But no, I haven't, because I don't know. I just really don't know. That's why I'm doing
There are many.
Sorry,
there are many. Yeah, it's all right. There are many reports on the SasquatchChronicles.com, which is a phenomenal source of information with hundreds of people from accountants across the world who write into West German. A very credible guy. He started out initially, calling people who were looking at the paranormal side of Bigfoot as, flute players. But over 500 episodes, his opinion of that side of things has changed drastically, 180 degrees. And many people report seeing when something has happened to one of these creatures, that the clan actually picks the body up and takes it off with them. They're never left on the phone. So that's the answer. They do bury them. They're highly intelligent. They outclass the human in their environment by 500%. They are forest ninjas. They know you're there before you arrive. They know you come.
Absolutely,
They're tuned into this sixth sense, this telepathic ability. Even Les Stroud, great survivor man. In the episode, I think it's episode 500 on Sasquatch Chronicles, he talks about how the beings were communicating with him through telepathy. Couldn't get my teeth in right. The telepathy. And people call that mind speak now. So it is hard information for people who are living in this digital world of watching X Factor, Coronation Street, you name it, and being distracted to hear this stuff and think, what have you been smoking? You're off the rock, are you? Because we're not in tune anymore. So they are definitely hiding their own. That's why bones aren't found. And the rest, and they do frequent caves. The cave systems around the world are phenomenal. And there's much research to prove that the Earth is hollow. I mean,
there is that theory.
This confirms that there are so many threads to this spider's web, that it's not just Bigfoot, it's not just aliens, it's not just the little folk, that it's all interconnected.
Yeah, everything is connected, Greg. Everything's connected.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Right, so if that's all right with you guys, I think that's a perfect place to end it. But do not worry, we will be back next month. What I will do probably is arrange it for the next time that Greg's off on a weekend, and I will let you know. If you are out there and you're interested in joining us, feel free, let me know, and I can pop you on and we can join the conversation. Or if you've got a question that you want to ask me or any of the guys on the panel, feel free, just pop it in the comments below. So any last thoughts? Well, first we'll go with Greg. Any last thoughts for the viewers, Greg?
Yeah, you know, the mind is sometimes akin to a parachute. In order for a parachute to work, it has to be open. So keep an open mind. Don't just shut your mind off to possibilities, because the universe is far more fascinating than you could possibly begin to imagine. Keep an open mind. And as Mr. Patrick McCarthy always used to say to me, said, Greg, it is far better to travel in hope than arrive in despair.
Fair play, bro.
That is a very good thing, yeah. So what about you, Glenn? What would you say to the budding researchers out there who are...
Well, yeah, I'd echo that. Definitely what Greg said. Throw everything out the window. Don't listen to what anyone says.
Yeah.
Go out, enjoy yourself in nature, and GPE, gain personal experience.
That's the one. Stu, a last word from you.
If you're out researching, and don't give up, you know, get your boots dirty, enjoy yourself when you're out there, and if you don't find anything on that day, at least you've had a good walk and you've been in nature. Enjoy yourselves.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win. Well, I would like to thank you all. Don't go anywhere, guys. I'm just going to end the show and then I can have a quick chat to you offline. I won't be a second. So for everybody else, as I said, if you want to get in touch, just get me in the comments below or pop an email over to me or, you know, a Facebook message and we can bring you on and you can have a chat with the guys. So until this time next month, good night.